Good morning, everyone. I hope you are well. Welcome to Wednesday Bite-Size CPD. Thank you so much for joining. This morning, we've got Sylwia Choroszucho, and she's looking at Beyond the Silence, ensuring every learner thinks, acts, and answers. So without further ado, I'm going to pass you on to Sylwia.
The title of which is Beyond the Silence, ensuring every learner thinks, acts, and answers in our class. Participates, basically, not just the higher flyer students. Everyone is engaged. But before we dive into it, let's just remind ourselves while we're doing those sessions. Every Wednesday morning at 8:30, we're delivering those short 15-minute bite-sized sessions, and this is just to introduce this culture of sharing good practice within our college. So if you do have an activity or an idea that you'd like to share with the whole college, however small it may be, please reach out to our TLA team. We'll support you in the delivery. You're not going to be left on your own, but please do reach out. It'll be great to hear from all of you, really. And our pledge to you is that we always start and finish those sessions on time. We give you quality and something that you can take away from those sessions. Now, today's session sits within assessment and learning checks on our TLA framework, where various assessment strategies are regularly used to check learners' understanding and gauge their progress in lessons, where feedback is regularly given, and that feedback reinforces learning and skill development. Now, the session's objectives are that by the end of it, you will stop the race for the fastest answer in your class, and you will start engaging the silent students in your class, and also you will shift the focus from getting the right answer to getting everyone thinking. How do we do it? Well, I'm going to share with you a few ideas. Now, I want you to think of your most recent session and answer the question, who did most of the talking in your class? Was it just you and your star student, the high flyer? If that's the case, that means that 90% of the class were not making progress. In fact, they were regressing rather than progressing. And so what that means is that the comfort of the star students, so the star students raises their hand, and we kind of feel that sense of relief that the lesson is moving forward, because we are often afraid of that awkward silence in our class once we've posed a question. And the hidden cost is that, while you're having this conversation with a star student, it feels like you're having a private conversation in a crowded room, and this is something that we want to avoid. How? Well, the first thing is we need to kill the question, so-called "who knows" questions, or "do you understand?" or any ideas, right? When we pose the question to the whole class, and obviously the answer will be yeah or silence, which means yeah, we understand, not necessarily. So the golden rule is to stop the race for the fastest, because when we pose the question, who knows? The most confident students, the fastest students will run or race with the answers. And we need to create a space for the thinkers where everybody is allowed or provided a safe space where they can think before they provide us with the answer. So we can use the technique, which is called pose, pause, pounds, bounds. How does that work? Pose, we ask the question to the entire group. We don't call any names yet. We then say that you have 5 to 10 seconds. Hold that silence, give them that silence. Do not talk then. No hands up yet. It's silence in the room where everybody gets a chance to think, to connect the dots, to go back to their memory to find the right answer. And then we pause we call a student by name, for example, Errol, what are your initial thoughts? And then rather than you validating the answer, we pass the thought to another student and we can say, Sarah, do you agree with Errol? Or we can then ask the star student to validate the answer at the end so that they are involved. That's one of the things. So you're not the validator, your students are. Another technique is the so-called think, parent, share. Because in our class, if your students can hide, they will. Well, we can change if we change the structure and change the engagement, basically. So what we can do, we can implement this think, parent, share technique, which is really, really useful because it involves everybody in your class. So the first step would be to think, give them 1 minute of either silence writing, putting the answers on post-it notes, on a piece of paper, digitally, or get them to just think. You can even put the timer on the board. Then you pair the students up. You get them to discuss their findings, their thoughts with another partner. And in that way, it will boost their confidence. It will not put them on the spot if you ask questions later, because they would have actually discussed that with another person. And then share. You then have a whole class feedback. You can use a randomizer. You tell the students, I'm picking at random, so everybody needs to be ready. And you can use digital randomizers. Here you've got a list of digital randomizers, wheel of names, pick a wheel, are separate kind of websites. But if you use digital whiteboards such as Classroom Screen or Ginsey, we have done the Bitesize sessions on the two. Classroom Screen was done once by Camila and Ginsey was done by myself. They all have inbuilt tools, randomizers, name pickers, so it makes your job a lot easier. And then what do you do? What you do, you randomly pick a student to answer the question, and then you can bounce to another student to validate, for example. Another technique is, or not technique, way of actually getting involved, everyone in your class, is through the use of mini whiteboards. So students write you give a question, students write the answer on a mini whiteboard, then they can either show you right away or first compare with their partners, and then you scan the room. Everyone is involved, everyone is thinking, you've got instant feedback from the whole class, and you have got the whole class actively engaged. So yes, another thing is, what do we do with those star students, with the higher flyers? Well, we do not just leave them. We need to stretch and challenge them. So what we can do is the so-called the +1 task stretch and challenge. When the class is working on the what, we give the higher flyer the how or why question to answer. Yeah. Or strategic redirection. So we say that we use the wait rule. I'm going to ask the group first, and then I'll come back to you at the end. And then what we can do when we apply or implement the previous techniques that I've mentioned today, we can then use the weight rule and use our high flyer students to validate other students' answers. So they feel that kind of, uh, you know, um, achievement as well, or they feel that they are valued in class as well. Right. So the key takeaways to remember from today's session is that silence equals thinking. Do not be afraid of the gap. Let that silence be in your class. That means students are thinking. Every student is actually thinking. Another one, structure equals safety. Students speak when they feel prepared, not when they are put on the spot. And I'm delivering this session because I felt one of the training sessions that I attended myself, teachers were put on the spot And that caused quite that might have caused anxiety even for teachers. So imagine students who are being put on spot and without even being prompted with the answers or getting time to think and reflect. And last but not least, success equals everyone means a lesson where only one person learns is a missed opportunity. Or, as I mentioned earlier, if you're actually engaging with the higher flyer students only, it means you're having a conversation, private conversation in a crowded room. But that's not what we want. We want everybody to be actively engaged in our classes. So hopefully, what you can do is to try to see whether those techniques work in your classes. If you have other ideas, please feel free to share them with us. What I would suggest to particularly newer teachers is if you just want to check the engagement of your students in your classes, have their names on a piece of paper. And then once your student has said something, answer the question within your lesson, take their names off. It will give you a picture, a clear picture of how many times a particular student has answered the question, and it will give you a picture whether everybody was engaged, because the results might be staggering. So do check it out. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you and have a lovely day.